Hey everybody, we're back with What I've Learned podcast, and today we have Cash for Homes Kevin McClellan with us today. And as we start a lot of the podcasts, we start with a backstory, and kind of off the word, it's Cash for Homes. So obviously you're involved in homes in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yes.
But before we get to what you do in terms of the Cash for Homes and investing, things like that, give us a little bit of background about where you're from, where you started, and kind of how you got into the investment world.
I was lucky with a lot of real estate investing in real estate in general as luck and timing, and I started investing back in October of 2010. So we didn't know how bad it really was back in 2010. In 2008, I'd actually got hired as a police officer in Sterling Heights, which I still am, and I was at the gym. And I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he was talking on the phone, and it was about a rental house and this, that, and the other. And I asked him, and I said, "Hey, what was that about?" He says, "I own 4 rental houses in South Warren, and I make X amount per each one, and it pays my my mortgage and my car payments, and I plan on buying a bunch more." I said, "Wow, so." I do things a little bit wild and on the fly. I went home. I said, I'm going to buy some. I had some money saved up from a landscaping company when I was younger, and went on Craigslist that night. I found some guy that was getting divorced, selling 4 rental properties in East Point, and called him. Went and picked him up the next day because he couldn't drive because he was an alcoholic, and got in my car with a Sprite can and vodka in it. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm driving this guy around East Point looking at these homes, and I ended up buying 4 properties, and that was like I said back in October, November of 2010. Leveraged those. And then started flipping properties. I wanted to buy more rental properties. I had no cash at the time. You need to be a cash buyer back then, kind of like you do now somewhat. I mean, there's other options. And the rest is history. Just flip a property, go buy a rental, flip a property, go buy 2 rentals, depending on the profits. And just kept doing that over the last 10 years as hard and as fast as I can.
So was this the first time you had acquired a rental, and how did you handle it? Did any issues come up? Because I know that Detroit's famous for things like bed bugs or something crazy like that, but did you have issues starting to come up, and how did you start dealing with them?
Yeah, well, first of all, so I bought these properties on quitclaim deeds. I really knew nothing about buying real estate. I didn't know how to buy a home. I was renting an apartment at the time. Like I said, I take some risks. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes they don't. So I bought these on quitclaim deed, not really knowing what I was doing. Luckily, it worked out. There were no major liens or anything, right? Because I could have literally thrown away $80,000 at that time, But so I had these 4 properties. 2 of them were vacant. 2 of them were occupied. One of them stopped paying. So now I've got 3 properties that I acquired. My first 4 rentals. 3 of them I have no income coming in. One of them's paying, and it was in really bad shape. There was repairs that had to be made. So it was difficult. I had to learn the eviction process right away. So like anything else, you get thrown in the fire and you just figure it out. I can't say, I really didn't have the money to go hire an attorney now to evict people after just to acquire these 4 properties. I think I even refinanced my car at the time and pulled $10,000 out of that. I was all in.
You were all in. Yeah.
I think at one point I literally remember getting a bank statement and I had $62 in my checking account.
Wow.
And like anything else, one of my mottos is you just figure it out. You just figure stuff out, So
that's a really strong mindset to have, and I don't come across a lot of people that have that mindset. And clearly, they make people very successful, like you.
Yeah.
What started that kind of mindset? Because you would have had it prior to jumping into this.
Well, I was always in some type of. I've always had that entrepreneurial and business mindset. Like I said, I started a small landscaping company when I was younger, and then went into an ice cream shop. Managed gyms. So I think all the different jobs that you have as growing up, right, from the age of 14, 15, 16 and on, you just develop that thick skin. Some of the jobs you're dealing with people older than you, right? I was a 23-year-old general manager of a powerhouse gym, and I've got 50-year-old employees. So you got to have that tough mindset to let things roll off your back. I believe if you're going to be successful in business, and especially real estate, whether it's a realtor or an investor, a landlord, whatever capacity in the real estate industry, you better be mentally and emotionally tough. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, figure out a way to get to that point. And I think you can. People will say, well, that's easier said than done. Like, I don't think I am. Well, I don't know if I was this emotionally and mentally tough either. I think my career as a police officer probably helped that. with seeing the stuff we see, and then get back in the car and then go eat lunch, or go handle this run or that one, or being yelled at and called names and have to laugh it off.
Right.
You definitely need to bite your tongue. You need to do that whole 24-hour waiting period. I've learned that a lot dealing with the contractors. That's one of the biggest things, is just not making that hasty decision. I'm sure that you have the same thing as a realtor, right? Like, you want to tell that other realtor, tell them where to go shove it, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let this offer sit for a minute, or I'm
Unfortunately,
gonna let this inspection.
I don't want to agree with you, but unfortunately, that's the truth of our business. We'll be doing a transaction, and then at a point, it feels like I'm also doing their job.
Oh yeah,
And
probably all the
now
time.
I'm doing both sides,
Yeah.
and they're just sitting there getting paid.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but you're not a professional, and you're not going to last if you keep doing that.
Well, that's why guys like you are successful and your team grows, is because it's like, again, the mentally tough part is like, I shouldn't be doing this. I really want to tell this other person off. I really should tell them that they need to do their job. But at the end of the day, just do it. Just kind of eat and just do it. Because you know that the end result is bigger than, the end of the war is bigger than the battle.
Right.
And I always try to remember that. Even going through the renovations that I do, is that these little battles with these contractors and realtors and things like that, it's just, you want to win the war at the end of the game, and get the house sold for the highest amount, and have it done at the best quality possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we get too in depth with the kind of what you're doing today and your business going today, I want to back it up a little bit. So you started a landscaping company early on.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started your landscaping company?
I was 19. I'd worked for a guy from like 15 or 16 to like roughly 19.
Okay. And then you just got some equipment and stuff and started doing your own deal?
Yeah. So you learn how to commercially cut lawns, with the riders and the whips and more of the commercial equipment. There's actually a proper way to cut a lawn, like edging it properly and blowing and all the, blowing the cracks out and all these things, and weed whipping and not burning the lawn. So I learned that, and I said, well, I could probably do this if I had some equipment. And so I had, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000 saved up, which, quite frankly, if anybody hustles, can save up a couple grand. I found right. I mean, like, there was no magic. Like, I didn't get dropped, $20,000 by somebody or $100,000. This was literally me saving up from the time I was 14, working at an ice cream shop, Wally's Frozen Custard, saving up money and finding a used riding mower and trailer, and buying some used equipment. And I literally, as cliche as it sounds, pounded the pavement, knocking on doors every day, and built up about 30 or 35 houses.
Old-fashioned hard work.
Yeah, well, that was it.
Pays
I mean,
off.
that's all I had. It's all I could do.
Right.
And it went from the first year of cutting 35 to 40 lawns to the next year of about 80, and to the next year about 120. Then by that time I had a big enclosed trailer with my name on it and some new equipment, and did very well. Started doing the sod installation and things like that, and then I sold the company, luckily saved that money, because I always knew I would get into something else, just didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. So having that nugget of cash available, again, timing worked out for me. That the real estate market tanked. I didn't know it would. Right. And it's just that conversation, literally that one conversation I overheard at the gym, I don't know if I'd be doing what I'm doing today. It's kind of weird how things work out.
It's just amazing how your life can take a totally different direction.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that you did for yourself was realizing that if I just park this money that I'm working so hard to make, and I just wait for the next opportunity, that's the golden.
Yeah,
that's the golden hand that was.
Well, it was always, growing up, you're always taught cash is king, right? And it takes money to make money. It's easier. There are a lot of avenues now available. There's hard money lenders. There's some private lenders. There's hard money loan guys for fix and flip, and if you want to buy rentals. So a lot of that is doing your research, joining some of these investment groups, talking to people, shaking as many hands as you can, asking as many questions as you can. But back to what Grant said is with the lawn mowing company is, I literally tell everybody, if you want to become a millionaire, start cutting grass. And they kind of look at me, or if they ask me, hey, how'd you get into this, and how can I get to what you're doing? And I tell them, start cutting lawns. And, I got to explain the story. But I'm like, you can do it, because, they want to say, I don't have a ton of money. I don't have access to, my parents aren't rich. Yeah, mine weren't either. I didn't get given $1, mm-hmm. but a good roof over my head and food on the table and supportive parents,
Right.
That's what I had, which was a good basis.
And that's usually enough.
It is.
Because we have the rest in us to do the rest.
Well, it's just whether you want to do it or not.
Right.
And it comes down to sacrifice, right?
It's all about sacrifice.
Like, we can all attest to the fact that how much do you want to sacrifice? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Are you willing to save? Are you willing to invest and take every dollar and dump it right back into your machine, your business, your brand? If you're not willing to, and you go and flip a house and make 30 grand, then go buy the Rolex watch and don't reinvest and go buy a rental property like I did, you might not grow as fast as you wanted to.
Right.
You know?
I like the allocation of putting your bills coming into a rental property paying for that item. So what we kind of say is connect a bill to a building.
Right.
So you've got it covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and and going on what you're saying there too, it's, are you willing to hold off on what you want today in terms of like, are you going to go buy the Rolex, or are you going to wait for the pleasure for later, put it off? And I know one of my all-time favorite guys I follow and listen to, Jim Rohn, talks about, are you going to go to the beach today, or are you going to own the beach tomorrow? And that's the difference there. And so many people, they just don't have that mindset of, can I hold off and can I save my money and not spend the money on the PS5 and on the new iPhone 12 and all this stuff that at the end of the day doesn't really matter, like the new cars, things like that. And the long-term wealth. Anytime I talk with somebody, it's don't you want to be the person that starts the generational wealth? You can complain all you want about, my parents didn't have money, but you don't have any excuse at the end of the day to not be the parents that do have money to give to their kids and pay for their school and things like that later down the road. Yeah,
I mean, listen, you hit the nail on the head. It's about the beach. Never heard that one before, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to steal it from you. I've used the word so many times, you just want to sacrifice, like you said. I mean, at some point, you got to start living, right? And I mean, the problem... It's
a balance, right?
It's a balance. I mean, the problem is the current generations are being taught, that you could die tomorrow and like YOLO and, you can make more money tomorrow, so spend what you have today. I mean, quite frankly, I think that's absolutely nuts.
Worst advice ever.
Right? Like, I was always taught, like, but there's also a 99.9% chance you're going to live till 85, so why don't you plan for that? Yeah. So I just play probability,
I think it's a mix of two. You can kind of do both at the same time. You can balance
right?
too.
Balance.
So I think you should have reserves for a couple of months. That's actually the real advice. That's going to
save the pandemic. We can
save
get into
you
that.
the problem. So the pandemic will exactly demonstrate that.
I mean, my whole thing, I think that whole YOLO thing got taken to an extreme of like, just don't care, blow everything, and live for today. And the way I see it is that you should be living for today to be like the best you can, because if tomorrow's not promised, you should be doing everything you can today to make sure that you're setting yourself up, making the right moves that the people that you care about. It's one thing I've always argued with people when they say, money's the root of all evil, or I don't need.
They're people that don't have any money.
Yeah, it's like and then they're like, I don't need money and I don't care about money and things like that. I'm like, okay, but do you care about the people around you? Do you care about your friends and your family? Do you ever want to be in a position where if your parents got sick, or your brother got sick, or sister got sick, or somebody got sick, and you don't have the funds to be able to take care of them or pitch in or their help? Like, how does that make you feel? And then it always shuts them up in terms of like the whole money process. And
well, so a lot of us growing up were also taught that money isn't everything, right? Because let's face it, if you see people that all they care about is money and so materialistic, and they're doing illegal things to get money. It's like, okay, you're taking it too far, and that's wrong.
Right. There's a stage-by-stage growth process. So once you are working hard to make money, you get to a point where you are making money, but then you realize, okay, well, I'm making money, but I'm not doing all those hobbies that I love.
Right.
Now I don't feel fulfilled yet.
Well, I'm a little bit there. I'm a little at that point.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's just, you just kind of like hit something that is pertinent to my life now, is that I am so focused on what I've grown in terms of this machine of flipping houses and building a rental portfolio. The problem is I really enjoy doing it, and I view that as my hobby. But I got away from, I used to be a big soccer player, going to the gym. So there's other things that are lacking in my life.
What about the cars?
Yeah, I sold the R8, but I'm going to get something new,
Those new Corvettes look pretty bad.
I don't like them. I'm not a Corvette guy. No, I don't like the Corvettes. No, I'm looking at a McLaren. I like McLarens.
It goes better with his last name.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just call me McLaren.
But with that being said, is when I bought the R8, I had a goal. I wanted to buy it 2 years prior.
Right.
And like Grant said, I could have done it, But I said, nope, I need to have this amount of cash in the bank. I need to have this amount of rental properties. I was like 5 away. I said, when I get that, then I'll treat myself and get, because, and as long as it wasn't going to affect the cash flow and it wasn't going to affect me building in any way where the trajectory was of the real estate investing, then go ahead and do it, right? I think we can all agree that you can enjoy some things, and at some point enjoy the fruits of your labor. Otherwise, again, what are you doing it for?
Exactly. And the funny stories that you brought that up, I met you a couple of years ago at that Mediterranean restaurant.
Yeah.
That's when you were actually telling me about the R8 and it was parked outside.
Yeah.
And you had this big smile on your face, and I said, did you just get this?
You can tell.
I could just tell.
You can tell. But like anything else, your lure wears off, and 4 years later, I got rid of it, you know. But I got.
It was a beautiful car, by the way.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I miss it.
Those are awesome cars.
I miss it.
I've
miss it.
seen the construction of those things, and they're pretty
Yeah.
fast as well.
Yeah.
The only thing I was thinking was, how the heck are you driving on these broken Michigan roads? You got to be selective what routes you're taking.
Listen, that was part of the reason to get rid of it. It was it was especially in the spring after these winters, and the roads were just buckled up and torn up of potholes. It was like you weren't really enjoying driving it. I mean, you're just dodging potholes. It was like a game of dodging potholes, and every time you hit one, you're like, oh, there goes a rim. Oh man, you're just like waiting for the air gauge to go out of the tire. So it wasn't, to go to dinner and back and fine, and go out for a night and back was fine. To do any type of long driving, it was not enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I never brought my motorcycles up from when I lived in Florida. I moved back up here. I was like, I'm not.
Well, dude, man, listen.
Potholes, things like that. I would kill myself in one of those 4 feet deep potholes.
Yeah, I would not ride a motorcycle nowadays. I give anybody credit that does. I mean, just what I see at work and the accidents and people on their phone. Whew, yeah.
So I know we're kind of circling around a little bit, but you're still a police officer today.
Yeah, yep, been there close to 13 years in Sterling Heights. Yep.
Sterling Heights still. What got you to become a police officer? Because you said you worked at a gym, you worked on a landscape company, and then what made you decide I want to be a police officer?
Yeah, so I didn't go to the academy until about like the age of 25, which is, I don't know, probably on average, but I mean, I could have done it at 21, 22, but at that time I was still bouncing around like business ideas and things like that, right? I wanted to work for myself, and what happened was I met a bunch of guys that worked for St. Clair Shores PD. I was working at the Powerhouse Gym down there. I was going to Fishbones for dinners down at 9 Mile and Jefferson, and I met a group of guys who I'm still friends with to this day, who were officers in St. Clair Shores. I met them at the gym, and then I'd see them at Fishbones, and we'd have a drink, and I started realizing that, like, man, these guys are like just like me. They're not the perception that we all had growing up as police officers. These are like funny dudes, like doing funny stuff, saying funny stuff. I started listening to their stories of their day. And it was just like kind of like I would talk to them and be like, well, what happened today? They tell me about some chase that they were in.
They've got good stories.
Or some foot chase. Yeah.
Great stories.
Yeah. So, after hanging out, I was doing the gym thing. And quite frankly, I like excitement. I like the adrenaline. I like being outside. As cliche as it sounds, I like helping people. I like something different every day. I don't like different. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the monotony of something. If I had to put that screw in the same part for 10 hours, like I'd lose my mind. And kudos to anybody that can. And like, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I just maybe it's one of those things where my mind gets bored easy, and I have to keep my mind going.
Right.
So talking to these guys, it was like, man, I think I'd be good at this career. And they started telling me, they're like, they got to know me, and they're like, dude, you'd be a good officer. Like, go to the academy. And just like when I bought the real estate, 3 years later, I literally went home this time, and I called my mom, and I said, hey, I'm looking into the police academy. I'm going to become a police officer. And at first, she was kind of like, my mom's pretty prective, and always has been. So I think she was at first like, oh God, no, like, I know that. Are you sure you can't just go like, do something safer? But then I think she realized it's a good solid career with a pension and benefits and things like that. And quite frankly, too, I was just a little burned out with the business from the landscaping and hustling and working at the gyms and the ice cream shop that I had opened up, which I made no money at. We won't even talk about that. But excuse me. But I wanted a career at that point, and it's been a great career. It was a great move. It's great consistent pay with W-2 pay, which then helped
Keeps
me.
you grounded, doesn't it? You got
Man,
a routine.
It definitely probably leveled me off.
Yeah.
Gave me more patience than what I used to have. Got me a little less emotional than what I used to be.
Yeah.
Real life training.
Yeah, and a great group of guys. I mean, listen, we won't get into everything that's going on, but all I can say is that I work with some of the most professional, intelligent, good men and women. I'd love to be able to bring everybody on a ride along for a week and see really what the job is and really why we do what we do, the perception of things. If I explained it to you for 5 minutes, you'd be like, oh, I always thought.
That is the most
completely
phenomenal
different.
and most important introduction to life, if we could do that, and that would enhance people's life skills to another level.
Yeah.
And I've been saying for a long time, if real estate could have a mandatory internship with a approved agent, that would change the industry for real estate, for example.
Yeah.
But there are some videos that are surfacing lately, and they're showing how people would react in a police situation,
Yeah.
and now what they think of the police.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah.
It is completely different, and I'm sure kind of how you're alluding to. I have a buddy that works for the Detroit Police Department and been on a ride along, and it's not what you think a day in the life of a police officer
Right.
is, because the media skews it in such a way that it's like,
Yeah.
police are just out there like just
Yeah.
harassing people and,
Right.
and being like bad people.
Yeah.
And especially down in Detroit, it's crazy how much more time, and I didn't know until they kind of explained it to me, that they've been pushing really hard to be more involved with communities, so
Right.
like neighborhoods and
Yeah.
different things, and just how much different, like, even the respect is for a lot of people down there have different type, like, they respect the police officer because they're being
Yeah.
pushed more and more to lately to just be involved, and they don't, they're pulling people over, they're being as professional as possible.
Yeah.
And giving breaks all the time, like, they're not really worried about like the little things and all that stuff, but the just the constant helping that goes on
Yeah.
in the community all the time is just so overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the media, if it leads, it bleeds. They'll take the 1% that's bad and cast that, and it's just, we're used to it. It happens in a lot of professions. I mean, I can tell you, I've never ever heard anybody I work with ever say that I'm going out today. When we're getting dressed in the locker room, we chat it up, and I've never heard anybody ever go out and say, "Man, I'm gonna go out and screw somebody over there. I'm going to do this or that," in a negative fashion. The more work we have to do, especially if it's something serious where we have to get hands-on or physical, the more paperwork we have to do, the longer we're stuck at work. We try to do the least amount as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth.
Right.
So yeah, like I said, I work with a really big group of professional guys and girls, and it's unfortunate what we've heard over the last year and in the media. I mean, listen. No officer ever makes the right decision 100% of the time. Okay,
Everyone's human at the end of the
I'll
day.
say that there is human error.
We're still human at the end
There
of
is
the day.
human error anytime humans are involved, and there are plenty of times where they're prosecuted and in jail. But for the most part, like I said, things are done very, very professionally. So
It's a tough job. I mean, I truly think that every person that joins the force is always looking to do good.
yeah,
They're never in there nobody's joining just to
No.
like, arrest people or beat people up and
No,
shoot
go-
anybody.
go-
That's never
go
the,
join a gang then. Go be a drug
Right.
dealer or something. I mean, go do something else then. I mean, that's
It comes, I think, at the end of the day, you especially like if you're in some of these areas, you're seeing things over and over and over again.
yeah,
Situations that people can't even fathom, can't even
Right.
imagine, and then you're pushed to the limit in terms of stress and hours, and you're just dealt bad
Yeah.
hands over and over and over again. I've seen it, and yeah, you're not gonna, like you said, nobody's making a perfect decision 100% of the time, and when you culminate that with continuous bad situations
Right.
that officers are forced into because
Right.
you have a call
Yeah.
to a domestic violence, or you have a call to a shooting. There's 100 things that you could get called to in a week,
Yep.
and it's you can't make the right decision all the time.
right. The only thing to tie it back into real estate is it's definitely helped me with the decision making and also controlling your emotions. So the two jobs, I mean, I can tell you that the real estate investing and being a police officer, that you might think like they're nowhere completely different. I could tell you that they are so tied together.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for me and my experiences. when it comes down to the decision making, so anybody like flipping homes, and in general, I can't stand when they have that paralysis via analysis, right? Which is a common saying, but it's so true. Like overthinkers absolutely kill me. So I'm a bit of a bull in the china shop, but I get stuff done. Like we can tweak it later. My motto is we can tweak it later, and if we have to fix something, we can. But like let's get some progress done and let's get something going here. Yeah. I mean, we can sit here for 3 days and decide what color cabinet hardware we're putting on the cabinet. Just pick one that looks good and put it on, and maybe on the next house, if you don't like it, you can change it if it's not going to kill the sale.
I love that.
And that ties back to the police job of like, I'm on a run. I'm dealing with a domestic situation. I got 2 people that are amped up. I need to make a decision really quick of which direction this can go. I might have 3 options. Maybe somebody goes to the hospital, to jail, or goes and stays with a family member for a couple days to let things cool down. I need to pick which route I want to go and get on with it and get the situation resolved and get out of that house before something escalates and goes really wrong. So the 2, when it comes to decision making, I've always said, go so hand in hand.
You've got to pick one.
When it comes to the real estate investing, just my biggest piece of advice there is like, don't overthink it so much. I mean, do your homework, do your due diligence, take some time to think about it, but at some point you got to execute.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
So,
do you agree that for a lot of new investors I talk to, I think what they struggle with the most is that they're not so much running the numbers again and again. They're just dealing with the fact that, do I even want to risk this opportunity? Like, can this go south for me? Is this going to turn into one of those money pits? Is this going to go? I'm sure you have those concerns at certain given points. Yeah. But like you said, you've got to make a decision. When you know your numbers, does that make all the difference? Because then you don't have to look at it so emotionally and say, you know what, the numbers work, I'll be fine.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. I mean, another saying we use is it's just about the numbers. It's just about the math. Just do the math. When you know 3 numbers, when you know your acquisition cost, you know your repair cost, your renovation cost, and you know your after repair value, your end sales price, when you know those 3 numbers, there is no guesswork. Like, at the worst case scenario, you should make a little bit of money on the project and move on to the next one. So that's the biggest thing, and that gets better with time, right? Like,
of course, like anything.
And the other thing is, people lie to themselves. I would tell investors, don't lie to yourself about the numbers. Like, especially if you've already done a couple projects, if you know, like if you know this is going to be a $40,000 renovation, if it needs a kitchen, bath, doors, flooring, and you know it's a $40,000 reno, don't convince yourself that you can do it for 20 or 25. There goes your profit. You're going to be at the end of the what's going to happen is you're at the end of the renovation. You still need shoe molding to buy. You still need doorknobs for the doors. You need vent covers, and you're out of money. And so now you just stop. Now you start half doing things.
Absolutely.
And it turns out now you took a product that was going to be really nice and a really nice reno, and it turns into not so great. You go from an A grade to a C plus because you ran out of money.
I see it a lot.
Yeah,
showing because right now.
Oh, you guys see good and nasty renos.
Oh yeah, I've seen phenomenal renos, and I've seen ones that, and sometimes they're not even bad, but kind of like you're alluding to. It's funny because I'll see some that they went all out on the kitchen and a couple other spots. And then you go through and you're looking at like the trim.
Yeah, they kept the old molding.
Yeah, like they're kept it, or they like hack some together to try to make it fit.
Oh,
They just shorted on like the molding stuff. And
cheap investors.
Yeah,
or run out of money.
Yeah, because I saw one in particular. I was thinking of. I'm like, yeah, they definitely ran out of money because they spent a lot on like the kitchen and stuff, and then you look at some of the little detail stuff, and they just didn't do it right, and just cut corners on stuff, and it was just funny looking at how that.
Yeah, I've refined, and this took years. I've refined my renovations into 3 grades, and this is pretty important for anybody that's listening.
Does the thought of buying a home stress you out? Call Elementary Lending. The mortgage process can be stressful and intimidating, but we are not your parents' mortgage company. Our cutting-edge technology has simplified the mortgage process, and our licensed experts are available 24/7 to educate you from start to finish. Call 8332-APPLY now and get an answer in minutes. The process has never been easier. That's 8332-APPLY now, or apply online at elementarylending.com. Elementary Lending, home financing simplified. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 1321438.
is I've graded mine, and I'm a simple guy. I like things very simple. I don't like them complex and convoluted. I grade them as an A, B, and a C grade renovation. So the minute I walk into a house, I only need 60 seconds in a house, and I decide if I want to buy it or not, or I at least know what my renovation cost is going to be by grading it that quickly. And I don't know if you want me to get into all those. We can do that maybe on another show, but
absolutely. I think that's going to be super helpful. But we will definitely dive into that when we do a deeper analysis.
Yeah,
and give people a lot more to prepare and think about before they get into investing, because it looks glamorous, but if you're not prepared to digest the whole meal, it's not going to work.
I mean, listen, it's not for everybody. Yeah. Like, again, we'll go back to, if you're not emotionally strong and mentally strong, it's a lot of negative throughout your day. Not to make it sound like this just, stinks what I do and like don't invest in real estate. It's just like you better be prepared for that call from the contractor saying, we ran out of base, we need more case. Hey, we got a problem, the sewer just backed up, right when you think you're getting done with the home, or hey, there's a little leak in the roof when we thought the roof was like fairly new. It's a lot of just negative ticks throughout. I mean, yesterday, it's funny because I'm here today, because yesterday I had one of those days. Every couple months you get one of those days where you wake up with a text or a call at 8 a.m. and it's really bad news, and you just know the rest of the day is not going to be good. And it comes in threes. And it came like in 7 yesterday. I mean, literally, I got probably 7 calls or texts that were just all bad news. And I mean, thankfully I'm mentally tough. I mean, otherwise I would have went and grabbed a bottle of Prozac, because I mean, my serotonin levels just were like getting beat down the entire day. But then at the end of the day, it turned around. I got an offer on my big house in Lake Orion. So I guess with that being said, you got to just push through it.
And it balanced out. If you gave into that,
it usually does, right? Water finds its level. Yeah. I mean, but if you let yourself get too emotional on the negative, it's going to ruin that positive in the end. You just cannot. You can only feel sorry for yourself so long, right? I always tell everybody, do you want sympathy or do you want a solution? Right? I'm going to give you one or the other. The majority of very successful people will say, just give me the solution, because me giving you sympathy is not going to help with your problem right now. Might feel good and cuddly. I'll give you a teddy bear, but I'm going to give you the solution. I might give you a couple solutions, and it's up for you to pick which one. So
I agree.
So we'll touch on it real quick. So you graded A, B, and C for when you walk into houses.
Yep, on a renovation flip.
Yep. How long did that take you to kind of have that system? Because obviously, when you bought your first 4 properties, you had no idea.
No idea. Didn't know what the hell was.
I'm sure even your first 5 to 10, you still were like, I'm still kind of...
Still had no system. I'll be honest. I'll be brutally honest.
And now, for doing it as long as you have, like you said, you can walk in, know if you're going to buy it, and then know basically what you're looking at in repair costs and stuff to do the whole thing, right? Because you've done it so many times. So how long did that take you to kind of have your system down where you just can do that?
It probably should have happened sooner than it did. I'll tell you, it was a conversation with a friend of mine, a realtor, who actually helped me refine that. He started asking me questions. And again, I think I was just lost in the big picture, like the macro sense of like everything going on, that I didn't hone down to like the actual numbers and system. But it was probably 6 or 7 years into it and 100 flips. Which again, I mean, shame on me. I probably should have refined my process and my numbers, but I don't know. I made some money.
You're stubborn.
Or I'm just stupid. I'm stubborn or stupid. I don't know which one. But it took that long to where I started going back and looking at all my numbers of, like, let's say the last 20 or 30 projects, and being like, okay. What it really comes down to on the A, B, and C grade is price per square foot on the renovations. Okay. So an A renovation is about $30 a square foot. A B renovation is about $50 a square foot. And a C renovation, the most extensive, is about $70 to $75 a square foot. I mean, give or take a couple of square feet, right? This system, it always works. It pans out. And how it's great is just
I love the way you know your numbers so thoroughly right now.
Yeah.
That you could walk through a home in 60 seconds, and I think that should be the end goal for any investor who gets into this line of business.
Yeah, there's only listen, if you're going to be you're going to be doing a renovation, there's only so many things that you really have to look at, right? So you go in and you look at the big ticket items, windows, roof, mechanicals, foundation, major concrete driveway type work. I mean, I don't
Sewer
think
scope.
Yeah, sewer,
Michigan.
sewer.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, 5 or 6 things. I mean, you already know you're doing the kitchen and the bath and all that, So the A renovation is still a full renovation on the interior, but really no major big ticket items. B renovation, you got to do the windows, maybe a furnace. So you got 1 or 2 big ticket items. Right. The C renovation is pretty much like this thing needs. Yeah, you guys have seen these houses where it's just like
Studded.
This thing has been so neglected.
This
thing has been so neglected. No money's been put into it for 60 years. There's trees growing through the roof. I mean, you're stripping it down to the studs. You're redoing everything. That's kind of your C renovation. And I'm talking, it's the law of big numbers. It never seems to fail.
And you've done a bunch of these lately. Like what I've been watching. Through your progress on Facebook, posting some of the before and after pictures, I see some phenomenal work that you've been doing. A lot of detail oriented finishes, and I feel like you're almost comparing your finish. I'm comparing your finished product to luxury downtown or beach condos.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful work.
Yeah, I mean it's when I don't have an end buyer and you're flipping a house, you got to keep it somewhat vanilla. So I try not to get too risky. Cause it's not my home, and I don't know, what. I did do one where I had a buyer lined up before I sold it, and I let them pick out some finishes, and they did some really crazy colors and tile work and stuff like that, and it worked out fine because I knew who I was going to sell it to. Otherwise, you kind of keep it what's in trend, right? I mean, there's no point of going outside the trend and ruining the potential buying pool. But with that being said, I appreciate the compliment, and that just comes down to like the in-house crew of team that I built, which I think we'll probably touch on, which is a big key to the success of flipping as many homes as I do, and with the quality. But it's just every house we try to add something new. We just started doing some like newer squared off shoe molding, which sounds stupid, but like people notice it, and it's like that's not the average, just kind of like curved like Home Depot stuff. The pot filler above the stove, instead of just white subwhite tile backsplash like everybody's doing. That's $3 a square foot. I'm putting marble, Grecian white marble. That's $7 or $8 a square foot. Yeah, it's costing me a little bit more money, but I'm pulling that in this market with the inventory as low as it is and interest rates as low as it is. We're pulling big numbers on the back end. So in this market, I say put the extra couple bucks in, set your project apart, and you're gonna get the money back. At least get the money back and then some.
Yeah, and why not? You're a master of your craft, and that's exactly what you're going to use as a platform to teach people of what's expected as you get to that level.
Right.
And I'm sure with how many you've done and the systems you have and the people that are supporting you at this point, you've cut your costs down right exponentially. Like where you just know the dollar amount and what you spend today versus what you spent 5-6 years ago.
Oh yeah,
just completely different on a different field.
Yeah, I mean, the more business you give, well, and with that, so in terms of materials, that's true. Although, man, materials have like skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this pandemic thing, this COVID thing is thrown a monkey wrench in a lot of things. So I have done that. I have honed down the cost of best suppliers, buy in bulk, things like that. But it also comes down to the trades and the subs that we use. Of like, you give the carpet guy 20 houses a year to do. Plus, I got a bunch of rental properties that I need carpet. Your price comes down, and you even just ask him like, hey, man, like. He tells you it's $2,500. Yeah, how about you get me for $2,000? I just gave you 10 jobs last month. So, and then I refer these guys out too. Probably every week I'm getting a text or a call from somebody saying, "Hey, do you got a carpet guy? Do you got a tile guy? Do you got a window guy? What else? You got a hardwood floor refinisher guy?" Because those things we don't do in house. So my in-house team takes care of the majority of the renovation. But I always say I like to leave the specialty items to the specialty guys. That's what they do every day. I don't want my guys refinishing hardwood floors because I still think there's a bit of an art to it and a proper way to do it. I don't want my guys doing that. Bringing the guys in that have all the proper equipment, that know the tricks of the trade, and get it done quickly and with quality.
Those are some good hacks. Take notes, folks.
All right, so break down your team a little bit.
Yeah.
So you have an in-house team, and then anything that's you said has any sort of specialty to it, you subcontract out. But.
Yeah. So my in-house team has just grown organically over the years, right? And again, it's easier said than done. It's taken 10 years and flipping 200 houses, and again, the rental properties as well, putting those together. It was tough. This was the hardest part, and everybody says I don't understand how you get these houses done as fast as possible with the quality and do as many as you do. Like they're like, are you doing the work? And first of all, I say, no, I don't swing a hammer. I don't have a paintbrush in my hand anymore. I did at the beginning for the first couple, but I knew that to scale.
I shook your hand. You don't do anything.
but thanks, Mark. But building the team and finding guys that would come with you full time and just be hourly full time guys was absolutely the hardest part of what I've done, and B, the biggest key to success of what I've done. Because the problem is you have to keep them busy year round. And listen, when you're starting off, when I started off, I was no different. The funds were tight. It was one house, and then that house had to sell before you went and bought the next one. Yeah. So there was a gap all the time. So back then I had a guy that I would call and say, hey, I got another house. And luckily, if he was available, he'd come and GC the project and do a lot of the work. But then it got to the point where I was able to do 2 houses at the same time. So now I don't have that gap. So now I'm keeping one guy busy, and then I'd find him a helper, like a younger guy, like a $10, $12 an hour guy with my $25 an hour guy.
Right.
And now I kept those 2 busy. Now I've got a little team, right? Now bring in the subs that you need and figure out the other stuff. And then it was, man, I could speed this project up if I had one more guy that could like hang doors and cut trim. So then bringing the 3rd guy in. So I like teams of 3. So I've got 3 small crews of 3, okay. And then all the subs. In-house, we'll come in and do the demo. We'll obviously do any rough framing and changes to the layout and plan, floor plan. My electrical is all in house. Plumbing is all in house. All the finished carpentry, hanging cabinets, laminate flooring, things like that. Doors, case base. Like I said, HVAC is about the only thing I don't have in house, just because none of my guys really know how to install a furnace or an AC. So again, leave it to the professional to come in and do that.
The installation is pretty much encompassed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, and again, like I don't want my guys cutting carpet and trying to like install carpet properly. I mean, I just think there's a right way to do it. Like
that would have been good if it was 1970.
Yeah, I know. So
red carpet,
yeah, the green shack carpet that I found and ripped out in many houses.
Walked home the other day and had red carpet, and they loved it so much they actually carpeted up the walls.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Great decision.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of drugs back in.
You don't know if you're laying down or walking.
A lot of acid back in the 70s, I think. But
it's a good one.
The way we can go in now and shred a home and put it back together is just in turning that dollar as many times per year. If you can only turn it one time and make 20% on that dollar, good. If you can turn it 3 times now and make 60 cents on that dollar, obviously your return on your investment is huge. Yeah. So that's always been my goal, is how many times can I turn this dollar? So, and the in-house team, and it's tough. Listen, it's very, very tough. Like, I pay my guys well. I've helped them get trailers, trucks. Hey, something personal in life. Can you front me some money? There's a balance to that. You don't want to be the bank and like the loan guy all the time. But like, they're good to me. They're loyal to me. I'm going to help them out because the market's good. I tell all these guys, hey, I've told my guys, my main guys, which I have like 3 or 4 main GCs, right, that run a project that really report to me that when I walk into a house and do my 20-minute walk around. They're very skilled. If they really wanted to, could they go do kitchens and baths on their own and make a lot more money? Probably. But I pay them enough and I treat them well to where they're happy. They make a really good living. It's consistent work. When the market does slow down, because let's face it, at some point it's going to, people are going to stop spending money at some point. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know when. But then they're hurting, and then they don't got work. So, and a lot of them, so one of the keys is like, find the guy that has already tried to like be his own general contractor or run his own handyman crew and like deal with clients and deal with like callbacks, deal with being threatened of being sued, and be told that I'm not paying you because it's not perfect, and sue me if you want, or put a lien on my house. I don't care. Get out of my house. I'm calling the police. Like, find the guy that is skilled, that has been through all that BS, and is like, man, I just want to I like working for you. I like flipping houses. I like construction. Pay me $30 an hour, and I'll be happy. Yeah. So that's one way to find those guys.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is you've created this perfect work environment for what they want. I mean, normally they can get a lot more jobs, they can make a lot more money, they can go to people's houses that are just going to give them different voices and different feedback, and they're never happy. Yeah. And I think with the environment that you've created is ideal. They're coming into a work environment where they know how things are going to play out.
Yeah.
You're not down there, you're not on their back, you're not bugging them about it. They can quietly work in that home, get the job done, and they know what to expect, and then when they go home, they can shut it off.
Yeah.
You're helping them create a balance as well.
It is
Stabilization.
It's consistent work. It's not a lot of stress, and they know that the work's going to be there. And the other thing, which ties back to your point of like the quality and like the little added touches, is we're at a point now where like if I ask my guys to go in and do a half-ass flip, they wouldn't want to do it. If I was like, guys, we're keeping that, we're going to keep that old molding, just caulk over it and paint it. We've gotten to a point where they actually enjoy doing the quality and the product. They have pride in the houses that we're putting out.
Yeah.
When people walk through and comment on it, I pass that message along to them like, hey, people are like really, really raving about this house. We had 30 showings in 2 days. Like, I got 4 offs to choose from. You guys did a great job. I can't give them too much credit, but
That keeps them taking pride in their work.
Keep them a little humble.
It is. No, my team enjoys what we do. They take pride in the work. And like I said, they've enjoyed probably just as much as I have us, what's the word I'm looking for? Evolving in what we're doing and doing more and more quality stuff.
Because it's not always about the money. They're leaving a legacy. They can say, those 10 houses in Grosse Pointe?
Yeah.
You know how beautiful they are? I did those.
Oh, yeah.
So it's creating a legacy. It's the same idea. When you become a master of your craft, you can actually do that. You've done that with your business, too, where, I can tell you some cool stories. I've sold condos downtown, and I could say, look at that skyline. I've sold 70% of those buildings.
Yeah.
It's a legacy. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's not just about the money.
Well, realtors always do that. Don't you guys always drive by down the street and say, I sold that house. I sold that
That's
house.
what we do when we're bored.
I sold
We get
that
coffee,
one.
we drive around. You're like,
My buyer bought that one. I know the guy that lives there, and we do. I do actually do the same thing when I'm driving with someone. I'll be like, I flipped that house back 3 years ago. I flipped that one 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you do.
you
Listen.
call the city and ask them if you can rechange the name. Can you change it to my last name?
Listen.
What do you do for that?
If you're doing something and not taking pride or enjoying it, probably be the other thing to like tell people is like, why are you doing it? You might want to like rechange your career path or your life path in general.
Yeah.
And like surround yourself with people that have common interests too. We were chatting before this about just different things of being successful and what it takes, and the old saying of, surround yourself with 4 successful people and you'll be the 5th, and surround yourself with 4 unsuccessful, or quite frankly, I'll call them losers, and you'll be the 5th, is true. Like look at your circle. When you're at dinner, what are you guys talking about, right? If you're talking about like the next PlayStation that's out, or like video game, or just something that is mind-numbing. I can't have those like mind-numbing, stupid conversations anymore.
Yeah.
Like it has to challenge you. It has to be. Listen, it doesn't always have to be all business, all finances, all stock market all the time. But like, make sure you're around people that are successful and that are always striving for a little more.
I know. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I'm always looking for those people that have those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have things I enjoy and that aren't.
Yeah, talk the sports. Yeah, talk the sports. Talk, interesting
but
things.
At the end of the day, I want to talk with people that are talking real estate, that are talking money moves and talking businesses and different
What's
things.
next? Yeah, what can we invest in? What's next? What's
How can
hot?
we make the next-
I got some cash. Where can I park this cash? You want to open a business together? I don't know. What's working? What's new? What does this area need? I don't know. That's just where my mind goes, I guess, when we're sitting around. I mean, I'll sit at dinner for 2 hours with buddies, and we'll be done eating and just talking business and stuff like that, and life in general, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Gotta enjoy it. Gotta
There's a
enjoy
balance.
it. Yeah.
So when are you gonna get married? What's going on with you?
Oh, jeez.
Someone's gonna ask him.
I don't know.
See the successful guy driving a nice car, flipping homes all day.
Yeah.
Where's the little Kevins?
Yeah, I don't know. Luckily, I have an older brother who has 2 kids. I got a younger sister that has 3 kids.
So you're the fun uncle.
So I'm the fun uncle, and it's saved me from the pressure of my parents about where are the grandkids.
Yeah.
So I don't put timelines on things. No societal pressures. We'll see when it happens. It happens.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
So you're planning on, obviously you're continuing this.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of investment property or long-term investment property, so you have a lot of rentals. And you're still flipping a lot of homes. You're going to continue this. Still, are you planning on taking the pension with the police?
Yeah.
You're going to work your
well,
time there. And
it's a great question.
level
It's the question I always get probably once every month. it's very tough, and I explain, and I get it from guys at work. You know, guys at work know what I do, and I've helped them out and get into investing and repairs on their homes and things like that. I got a really good relationship with everybody at work. You know, it's no secret how much real estate that I do, but I do it after work, and I keep my police job, my police job, and my real estate. At least I've always tried. Sometimes they intermingle, and people find out what you do, but it's tough. I'm like at the halfway point, right, of the 25 years. I mean, in April, it's going to be 13 years. And it's like, just like the real estate of mastering your craft and like learning and being pretty comfortable in an industry. I mean, when you get to that 10-year point of being an officer, now 13, it's, you kind of, I don't want to say seen it all, because you still show up to some runs and you're like, man, I've never dealt with this before. Like, I really don't know how to handle this. Like, I need to call boss to the scene, or I just need to make something up, and deal with it. But there's a lot of time and a lot of training and an academy, and I'll be honest, man, those guys and girls are my friends, like they're family. They really are. I mean, and I hang out with a ton of people outside of the police family as well, right? I think you gotta have a good balance, like anything else. I'd just as much rather have dinner with you guys and a drink as the guys at work, because I can only talk police work so much, too. But it's tough. There's that pension there at the end that grows with every year you're there to the 25th year. You put in almost 13 years and you're building that pension, and then you have the vacation time, you have the health care. You got that consistent check every 2 weeks. And so when I first started my investing, it was my safety net, actually. So I was able to be very aggressive in my real estate investing by having another job, because I always said, like, I can be aggressive, because if this flip doesn't go good in the beginning and I'm done, I got a great job. I got a great career. So it was a bit of a safety blanket. So I always advise.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
No.
You should have something to fall back on anyways. I mean, just for example, if hypothetically real estate agents or mortgage lenders became redundant. Or the industry just flipped out and something changed, what's your plan B? Right. It's good to have something to fall back on.
Yeah, I mean, definitely multiple streams of revenue is always taught to be beneficial, right? I mean, if you can have 3 streams of revenue, usually be successful and not have to worry about a major downturn in any one of those industries. I mean, like, again, we've seen it with like this pandemic over the last year, of like saving money and having money set aside and diversifying, right? So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. So still in debate then.
Yeah. So to sum it up, sorry, I got off tangent there. It's like,
you're like, what was your answer?
Yeah, I know, man. It's like, is he friends with my chief or something? Is he trying to get an answer? But it's just so. Here's the other way I explain it, Grant. Is it's not like being and again, I'm just using this example, like a bank teller. If you quit because you're tired of being a bank teller, but 6 months later you want to go back and be a bank teller, you just go back and apply and go back. With the police job, when you retire or leave, you're pretty much done. I mean, your career is pretty much over. You'd have to restart, either keep your certification, or if enough time lapsed, you'd have to re-go through an academy again, which I'm not doing after 13 years of being a police officer. You get hired at a new department or your old one if they were to hire you back, and you're down at the bottom of the seniority. You're number 1 guy or number 100, whichever way you look at it, but you're at the bottom. You get the worst days off again. So my point is in the career like a police officer or even a fireman or any of those type of jobs, when you're done, you better make sure you better be 100% sure that, nope, had a good career. Right. This is going so well. I got to leave. And I'm just not at that point. I mean, as corny as it sounds, I really love the job. I mean, to be in the car chases and foot chases and, guns out, this, that, the other, I mean, sounds a little crazy, but I mean, that's kind of why we do the job. Like, we actually enjoy flying 120 miles an hour to a possible armed robbery in progress. I mean, it's just what we do. We enjoy doing it. One day when I wake up and I say, I don't want to do that anymore, I don't want to drive to that run, then I'll turn my stuff in and just focus on the real estate. But I'm going to stick it out as long as I can. If I can make it 25 years, I will. I tell everybody I'm just going year by year. I'm going year by year. Maybe I get injured. Maybe I get sick. Maybe something happens at the PD. Like I said, maybe I wake up one day and don't want to do it. Yeah. That will tell me. I don't have a set number of houses or real estate or money right now planned that then I leave the PD. It's completely fluid right now of I'm going to keep going year by year. I love what I do. I honestly, I'd miss the guys. I mean, like 2 or 3 of my best friends I got hired with and I work with. So like the thought of not being able to meet up and like, still be an officer with them and like talk about the day is I'm not ready for that. So I'm gonna keep hustling. I sacrifice a lot in terms of time. I mean, it's like essentially having 2 full-time jobs. The other thing is, I actually love doing both of them. Yeah. So I don't hate getting up in the morning. I work Sunday through Wednesday at the PD. Thursday, Friday, Saturday is when like I really pack everything in and tackle all the real estate tasks. And like when I wake up Thursday morning, I'm like ready to go. I'm excited. I mean, I've got usually 13 to 20 things on a Thursday that I got to get done, and then Friday, and then I pay my guys on Friday. So Thursdays and Fridays are slammed with real estate stuff, and then it bleeds into Saturdays, and I'm doing real estate stuff. So for me to sit on the couch, honestly, and watch TV, I just have a hard time. Doing it. Yeah. But
there's nothing good to watch other than cop shows. You don't need to watch them.
I won't watch those. People laugh, they'll be like, turn on live PD or turn on cops. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. It's what I do for a living, and that's so unrealistic. That's not how it goes. Yeah. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Just for those that watch TV, we only watch cop shows.
Right. It's interesting. Like I said, man, I would love to bring everybody. You've been on ride-alongs. Yeah. You've been, especially down in Detroit. You've seen some stuff. Went on some like high-intensity runs with lights and sirens going, and you cannot duplicate the adrenaline. But also, it would be great to be able to. I get peppered with questions. Now, I used to always get peppered with questions about police stuff. Now I get peppered with questions with real estate stuff, which is fine. But when it was the police stuff, it was always like legitimate questions, but what they thought of why we did something was normally never the reason why. Yeah. I got pulled over, and I'm not a criminal, and I got pulled over, and 2 cars pulled up behind me with their lights on. Like, I felt intimidated. I felt like a criminal. And it's like, okay. Well, we just got to have an unwritten rule that if there's a car on a stop, we don't know who's in that car, and we don't know what our partner's dealing with. You never drive by another officer if he's got somebody stopped. You pull up, you check on him. Hey, you all set? Yeah, I'm good. It's just soccer mom, she was speeding. Okay, Okay, cool. And then we get out of there. Yeah. It's nothing against you. It's like
so there was 6 cars behind you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you got 6 cars, probably got a problem, Yeah. And even that happens sometimes, and guys will pile on runs. I'll be like, get out. I'll tell 3 of them, get out of there. Get out of here, man. We're good. Like, we don't need an army here. Like, this is like grandma driving home, So it's just, people, again, back to that, people just don't realize sometimes why we do what we do.
Well, I'm glad you shared that so people can kind of relax now. They see more than one car, they know what's going on.
Yeah. I got a lot more of those things I'd like to share, but we're probably running out of time.
The misconceptions on all that and the media and stuff, it's completely movies, all that stuff, they don't show any of the good stuff that you guys are doing either.
Yeah, they try. I mean, they try. Some outlets do, but that doesn't get the ratings.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the good ratings.
It's not juicy enough,
Yeah, and like you said, the paperwork, you don't have to keep.
Dude, the last thing I want to do is have to do a use of force report and an arrest report and go to court and possibly get sued. I mean, we don't.
Yeah, that's not.
Every now and then around the country, there's millions of interactions, and there are times where a guy messes up and does the wrong thing. People always say that you guys always defend each other 100% to the death. Well, I'm here to say that no, we don't. There are officers sitting in jail that made a horrible decision, whether consciously or subconsciously, and they're paying for it. Yeah. They made the wrong call. They did the wrong thing. Yeah. But the majority of the time, 99.some% of the time in all the interactions, it's handled professionally and properly. Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
I'm sure as you've seen, and maybe not even your police department, but there's going to be the bad apples that takes you over time, and it's like any place you work, there's going to be guys you're just like,
the problem.
He's not my, he's just not in it anymore.
The problem is the police.
Some of them joined real estate right after.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yeah. We've actually got a handful of guys that have got the realtor license. They're looking towards their second career. Our guys retire fairly young, 46, 50, 52. So we have a handful of guys and girls that have their realtor license and plan on that as their second career. But I do think the barrier to entry for your guys' profession should be a little tougher. You know, I think
definitely in Michigan at least.
Yeah.
In certain
Is
states,
it different in different states?
In certain states, yeah. I think all states vary, but you know, like I deal with a lot of California investors, and we talk about the length of getting that license in Texas too is a little bit tougher. But like I said earlier in the podcast, I think that it would be the most helpful if there was a small period of time as a mandatory internship, like in any career that's got residency or some kind of. You're dealing with people's largest assets that can either make or break their life. I mean, I've been through the recession period during my career, so I can tell you for a fact that families like rip apart over one house.
A bad deal, yeah. A house.
One house being their entire savings of their entire life, and they've got nothing else to rely on.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those situations where I think agents need a little bit more grooming so they can be a little bit more conscientious. They can be careful. Yes, you're in Happy Sue America, so you should be careful anyways. Yep. But I think that you should be careful because you want to, not because you're just scared to get sued.
Yeah. No, I'm shocked that there isn't more, like you said, a training period. And probably the last time I'll tie it back to the police, but we start with a 3 to 4 month field training, FTO, officer, whole plan program is the word I'm looking for. Sorry, where you don't get hired and just be given a gun, a badge, cuffs, in a car. Like that's essentially kind of what they do with some realtors. You're with 3 to 4 different officers, and you are given more and more responsibility and allowed to do more and more things until you're shown in shadow phase. It's called that you can do the entire job without needing any help. You know. So I think it'd be huge in the real estate industry if they did something like that. There's so much that goes into what you guys. People again like misconceptions about my day job is the misconceptions about how easy your job is.
Oh yeah,
and what you guys do.
People, it's funny. I've noticed that so many realtors kind of portray it as it's just an easy gig.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong. There's realtors that have it pretty easy.
Yeah,
they had just a crazy amount of connections.
Right.
Just kind of
they're handed. They're just handed multiple
family,
deals.
friends, and they just get handed these huge deals and stuff, and it happens. But no, if you're starting out and stuff, and what goes into each, as you know, flipping properties and stuff, and the purchasing process, and all the things that tie in through title, and mortgage, and anything that happens there, and then just how do you run a business because you're running your own business. So
right.
Few people. I mean, if you worked as a police officer for your whole career, most people didn't run a business from being a police officer.
Right.
They just worked as a police officer, and it's a job, and it's pretty far away from understanding the ins and outs of running a successful business.
Yeah, contracts. I mean, the amount of paperwork you guys have. I mean, that's where a good, educated, knowledgeable, experienced realtor. I mean, the stuff you guys could do to a rookie agent that barely has filled out a PA. I mean, if you wanted to, is like insane, And that person is dealing with somebody's $200,000 transaction or $500,000 transaction. It's unbelievable.
Plenty of times.
It is. Yeah.
Had, like Mark said earlier, had to basically run the whole deal from both sides, and the other person just kind of sitting there like.
Dude, I've had it where they've sent over a PA to my realtor on one of my houses, and it's not even filled out completely. It's like, you want me to fill it out for you?
I mean, legal binding contract.
Dang, I wish you would have left the sales price open too, because that's about the only thing. That's about the only thing you filled. And I mean, inspection period and closing date and EMD. It's like, wow, this is gonna be tough to get through. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like you said, just deal with it and get on with it.
Just move on and get it done.
That's it. That's the name of it.
Can't fix all the world's problems in one sitting, but we'll try.
We'll try.
We'll try to contribute as much as we can.
We'll come back and fix the rest from another time.
After these next 10 flips.
So to kind of wrap it up, we always like to ask for the podcast. What I've learned. So in terms of life and in your investing in real estate, what's kind of the biggest thing that you've learned that you've taken away through trial and error, through whatever experience it was that's kind of made you who you are today and gotten you where you are today?
Don't be afraid to take the calculated risks. Everybody is going to tell you not to do something because that's just, for some reason, that's just human nature. It's like they want to be able to say, I told you so. Or I hate to say it, but a lot of people just secretly hope you fail just because they didn't take that same risk. So don't be afraid. I always say only the first one hurts, especially when it comes to like house flipping and buying a house. The first one hurts. After that, you've already been through it. You already know, the pitfalls of it. So don't be afraid to take that risk if it's a calculated risk. And again, I'll go back to what I said before is don't overanalyze too much. Like, I see guys that want to get into flipping houses and being a real estate investor, and all they talk about for 3 months is like setting up an LLC and tax strategy and like where to buy stuff from. And I'm thinking, dude, go and flip a house.
Yeah, make some money first.
Go to Home Depot.
Because then
Like,
you can worry
do
about the
it.
taxes after you've made some money.
You don't got to worry about tax. That's my exact point. And like, I don't know. To me, this is not like brain surgery. Like, what? Ask about the tax guy and how to like, lower your taxable value or income after you
like
made
you said,
the money.
You tweak it as you go along.
Yeah.
You add to it. You adjust it. You do what you have to do along the process. But you got to be in the process.
Yeah.
Before you start talking about like corporations, like, yes, please take the best tax advice as you can. Get to that point where it makes a lot more sense. Write off your trips so that you can.
Yeah.
Do all the wonderful things that are associated with and the benefits.
What's a trip?
For you?
I know. I know. I asked you. I see you in Florida. I see what's saying on your. I see what's saying. You was saying on
I'll
your
bring you some
toes.
sand back. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Feel
Thank
bad.
you. I haven't touched sand in 10 years.
Yeah.
But so that's one of them. If we're going to talk about investing, is in life in general, is like, kind of block out the naysayers. Don't do something just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, make sure it's a calculated risk. But if you want to take it, and then execute. Like, we can skin a cat more than one way, right? And we're going to get to the same end goal. So do you want to do that in a week, or do you want to do that in 3 months? Like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Back to make a decision and go.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think our first podcast was, you just got to pull the trigger sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're shooting for the moon, and the moon's moving, Earth's moving, everything's moving. You just have to make the minor adjustments while you're going, the little adjustments. But you have to pick your goal, shoot for it, and then adjust on the way.
Yeah, to tie into what you're saying, I think it's really good and relative for people to just not be afraid to use their common sense. You don't have to take advice from every other person who's only sold one house in their whole lifetime.
Right.
They're probably not the best person to go to.
Yeah.
Talk to the guy similar to you, who's done so much from starting to, you've learned from every mistake to perfecting your process to now just scaling and growing.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the kind of person you want to learn from and be like. And like you said, surround yourself by those 4 friends that when you sit down with them, you want to be number 5.
Yeah.
You want to become that 5th one to,
Yeah,
get there.
because if you are investing or you are starting a business, I'd much rather be surrounded with like 4 guys that are a little higher on the intelligence scale and like life decision scale than 4 other people. Because it might be the difference of you working around that problem that you got yourself into, or just a decision that you have to make that's going to affect the outcome of your project. So.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, you are obviously still buying properties.
Oh, yeah.
And flipping them.
Yeah,
So,
just bought one yesterday. Bought one at 2 o'clock yesterday. Had 2 dumpsters delivered this morning at 8 a.m. And I got guys right now. My phone's probably going off that they already said 130 yarder's full. So we don't mess around. Yeah.
So and then you sell them obviously when you're doing the flips. So for people to potentially get in touch with you on selling you a property or purchasing properties from you, what's the best way for them to?
Oh, I just put my personal cell out there, which people think I'm crazy, but I don't have time for 2 or 3 phones. So they can call me at 586-855-4041. And that's just my personal line. You could text or call. And if you got a property that of somebody that wants to sell it, I'm the cash buying guy who comes in and close it in 5 days and take what you want, leave what you don't want, put the key in the mailbox, and I handle the entire process. There is no BS. Make the process really easy on you. So, if you know of anybody that has a dilapidated home or a home that they just need to sell like tomorrow, and they know that they're going to take a little less by selling it to a cash buying investor, then, I'm the guy for that. If you want it to retail and, you want to maximize that asset, which I don't blame anybody, which the majority of sales are, then definitely give guys like you a call.
Yeah, but it's the right opportunity, like you said. We've got some families that have illnesses and other, situations that are really difficult, and they've got a home that's just not been upkept.
Yeah.
And that's the right one.
Yeah,
Sometimes just painless. You've already got a family dealing with a lot of turmoil and a lot of other situations. Nobody wants to do showings, and there's just a lot of other factors.
Yeah.
We recommend that you visit all your options. We're not saying, not to clean it up and put on the MLS
Well,
and
I think that
cash out, but if it makes more sense to a certain degree, it just makes sense. It's the situation.
Well, I think that's like the biggest advantage of working with realtors like Grant and yourself, Mark, is that you guys can offer people you meet with two options, right? You can offer them the retail option of like, we'll clean it up, we'll list it, pictures, we're going to have people walk through the home and offer and mortgage and inspection and appraisal. Or, that's A, you're going to get a little more probably, but it's going to take a little longer. Or, we call out. We bring Kevin in, and he does a quick walkthrough for a minute, and gives you a cash offer, and closes this in 5 days or 7 days as soon as title work's done. So, it's nice to be able to work with you guys that have those two options available. Because sometimes it's not all about the money to the seller. A lot of times
it's not about the money. Those situations of what you're offering has actually saved some families from foreclosure and some other difficult options, and they didn't have any other choices, and there was nothing more we could do, and there was such a small time frame. It wasn't a possibility to entertain the fact of cleaning up that property and putting it up for retail.
Yeah.
So, for example, those folks were lucky enough to walk away with some money versus nothing.
Yeah.
And restart their life again.
Yeah.
So it turned into a big blessing.
Yeah, I mean,
I said, for the right situation, it makes sense.
We've both heard it before where I've had people tell me, like, I don't think anybody will even buy my house. I don't think anybody will want this. They'll be like, you can sell this or you'll buy this? Yeah. And I'll be like, yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it's what I do. We come in and repair it and this, that, and the other big. And they're very fortunate. And a lot of times it's an emotional thing to where, like I said, it's not so much about squeezing every dollar. There's family members involved with history of the home and emotions, and they just want to be done with it to be able to put that to bed and move on. And liability reasons. There's times where people don't want people in their home for liability reasons. If there's mold or foundation issue or the stairs are broken, that's where we come in, and we make the process very simple.
That's awesome. We got a lot more to talk about, so we're going to have to bring it into another episode.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome having you. Thank you for being on the show.
Now, with where we're at today is the, was it 29th? 29th January. Plan on buying any GameStop stock? Or
no, I stay out of it. I stay out of that.
Crazy.
I've never liked the stock market. I know people have done very well in it.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of like know what you know and know what you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't educated myself on it. I know just enough to be able to BS with people about it. Yeah. I have no clue what's going on with this Robinhood and this GameStop. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny to hear about like what's going on, if it's true.
It's funny because they call themselves Robinhood.
Yeah.
That's the funny irony of it.
But no, I'll be honest, the return I make on my investments, I just feel like they're way more safe than the stock market, and I know it's a pretty consistent return, and I know what I can do with $1, so I'm just not willing now to go park any money in the stock market at that time.
That's smart.
Yeah. You're a stock market guy?
I'll dabble in it a little bit,
Yeah.
I like to follow what's going on.
Yeah. You, Mark?
A little bit. Yeah, nothing major. I think houses is my thing too.
Yeah.
It's what I trust and it's what I know. So
exactly.
I stick to that.
Yeah.
Property's kind of, but
Yep.
stick with it. So awesome. Well, it's Cash for Homes Kevin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And,
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook.
Just give that number one more time if somebody wants to call you or text you.
Yep.
And try not to call them at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
No drunk dials.
Yeah. No, just Cash for Homes Kevin, Kevin McClellan, 586-855-4041. I'll come out. I'll do a quick walkthrough of your home, or if you know somebody, the neighbor. I need 60 seconds, 90 seconds in the home, look at some major things in the home, and then I'll make a cash offer on anything. If you like the
Jason Bourne of Cash Buying Home Real Estate.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is What I've Learned podcast, so stick around, stay tuned for our future podcasts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.